My mom didn't fire me. She didn't even warn me. She just walked into my office, sat down in my chair, and told me to pack my things, in front of my entire staff. Stick with me, because what she didn't know that morning would destroy everything she built. I arrived early like I always did. The office was quiet, lights still dim, the smell of fresh coffee in the air. I tapped my keycard at the door to my office, expecting the usual click. Instead, the light flashed red. I tried again. Nothing. Confused, I walked toward reception, but before I could speak, my mother's voice cut through the silence. Nia, come here. Rochelle Carter was already inside my office. My office. She was sitting behind my desk, scrolling through her tablet like she owned the place. Around her stood a few staff members and someone from HR I barely recognized. She smiled, not warmly, not like a mother, but like a CEO addressing a problem. We're doing a leadership restructuring, she said calmly. Effective immediately, you're no longer COO. The words didn't make sense at first. I waited for a joke, for an explanation, for anything. None came. My co-workers stared at the floor. One of them avoided my eyes completely. HR cleared her throat and said, "This was decided at the executive level." Executive level. As if I hadn't helped build this company from an empty rented room. As if I hadn't stayed up nights fixing systems, saving clients, keeping everything running. Pack your personal items, my mother added. Security will escort you. That's when it hit me. This wasn't business. This was planned. And the humiliation was the point. When I got home that night, I couldn't sleep. My mind kept going backward, replaying everything from the beginning. I remembered the early days when the company was nothing but an idea and a folding table in a rented room. We had no money, no clients, just hope. My mom used to say, "We're building this together, Nia. You and me." I believed her. I worked for free for almost a year. I skipped weekends. I answered emails at midnight. When pitches were rejected, I stayed up rewriting them while my mom slept. Slowly, the business grew. Clients stayed because I fixed problems fast. Systems worked because I built them. At first, my mother was proud. She bragged about me to everyone. "That's my daughter," she would say. Then things changed. As the company expanded, people started coming to me instead of her. Staff asked for my approval. Vendors trusted my decisions. I noticed my mom watching from across the room, her smile tighter than before. She began correcting me in meetings, questioning my choices, taking credit for ideas I had explained to her the night before. Still, I told myself it was stress. A week after being pushed out, I opened my old work laptop. Buried in my files were scanned documents I barely remembered signing. I read them slowly, my stomach turning. The ownership structure had been changed. My authority reduced. Dates showed the edits were made months ago. My signature was there, but the pages had been altered after I trusted her to handle the paperwork. My hands started shaking. This wasn't a fight that happened overnight. She hadn't acted in anger. She had planned this quietly, patiently, while calling me her partner to my face. That was the moment I understood something painful. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. Sometimes it just means the betrayal cuts deeper. After they walked me out of the building, I sat in my car with my hands on the steering wheel and couldn't move. The engine was off, but I didn't even try to start it. My chest felt tight, like all the air had been pulled away. People passed by the windows. No one looked at me. I called my mom first. Straight to voicemail. Then I called HR. No answer. I called 2 managers I trusted. One declined. The other let it ring until it stopped. The silence hurt more than the firing. After nearly an hour, my phone finally buzzed. It was Malcolm Reeves, my old mentor from our early startup days. His voice sounded careful, like he was choosing every word. "Nia," he said softly, "I didn't want you to hear this from someone else." He told me the truth. For months, my mother had been meeting privately with investors. She described me as emotional, difficult, unstable under pressure. She said the company needed protection from me before expansion. I felt sick. Every late night I worked. Every crisis I solved. And she was painting me as a risk. When I got home, the apartment felt too quiet. I sat on the couch and replayed every moment I had ignored. The meetings I wasn't invited to. The files I suddenly lost access to. The way my mom stopped asking my opinion and started giving orders. I blamed myself for trusting her. But the worst pain wasn't losing my job. It was realizing my own mother had looked at me and decided power mattered more than I did. She didn't just remove me from the company. She erased me from the story she was telling everyone else. And that kind of silence doesn't fade quickly. It settles deep. And it changes everything. A few days later, I received a message that made my stomach drop. It was from an old coworker who still trusted me. She didn't say much. Just one line. "They're using your deck." I knew exactly which one she meant. The strategy deck I had built over 2 years. Every system, every workflow, every growth model. I had stayed up nights perfecting it because the contract it targeted could change the company forever. A government-adjacent deal. High security. High money. High visibility. I opened the file she secretly sent me. My work was all there. The same charts. The same wording. The same structure. But my name was gone. Replaced with my mother's. I scrolled slowly, my hands shaking. They hadn't even changed the ideas. They just erased the person who created them. Then I heard the next part. Rochelle planned to announce a new COO before the pitch, her cousin Andre Wilkes. Andre had never run operations. He missed deadlines. He confused basic reports. I used to fix his mistakes quietly so clients wouldn't notice. But he was loyal, and loyalty mattered more than competence. That's when it finally hit me. They didn't just push me out. They kept my brain, my work, my future, and handed it to someone else. Everything I built was being used to lift people who never earned it. I felt anger rising, but beneath it was something colder. Clarity. They weren't trying to move forward without me. They were trying to succeed on my back while pretending I never existed. And for the first time since I was fired, I stopped crying. Because I understood the truth. If they needed my ideas this badly, then they were already weaker than they realized. After the anger settled, I made a decision. I would not react. I would prepare. Every morning, I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop and a notebook. I went through old emails one by one. I downloaded version histories. I saved timestamps that showed when files were created and who edited them. Some systems only I fully understood. Financial workflows. Client routing. Approval chains. I had built them quietly to keep the company running smoothly. Now I wrote everything down. Not to sabotage. To protect the truth. Malcolm came by one evening with takeout and a serious look on his face. He listened as I explained everything. When I finished, he nodded slowly. "You need a lawyer," he said. He introduced me to a corporate attorney named Valerie Knox. She didn't raise her voice or react emotionally. She just read the documents carefully. Then she looked up and said, "Your mother crossed several legal lines." Hearing that felt strange. Part relief. Part heartbreak. Valerie explained my options. I could file a lawsuit immediately. Freeze assets. Drag everything into court. But something inside me said not yet. A public fight would warn them. And I wasn't ready to show my hand. Instead, I asked one question. "If I wait, does that hurt my case?" She shook her head. "No. As long as you document properly, time can actually help you." That was when I understood something important. Revenge doesn't have to be loud. It has to be precise. So I kept quiet. While they believed I was broken, I was organizing proof. While they celebrated removing me, I was building leverage. They thought erasing my name erased my power. They forgot one thing. You can't erase the person who built the system. And when the moment came, timing would matter more than anger ever could. 2 weeks later, I heard the news through Malcolm. The company had made it to the final meeting. The contract everyone wanted. The one built entirely on the systems I designed. At first, I felt nothing. Then the panic started spreading inside their walls. Andre couldn't explain the workflows. He mixed up numbers. He gave vague answers where proof was required. The investors wanted demonstrations. Real operations. Real control. Things only I could provide. Emails flew back and forth. Meetings ran late. Voices were raised behind closed doors. And then finally my phone rang. It was my mother. I stared at the screen for a long time before answering. Her voice was different. Softer. Careful. "Nia," she said, "we need to talk." She didn't say sorry. She didn't ask how I was. She talked about the company. The pressure. The opportunity. How this deal could fix everything. Then she made her offer. "Come back temporarily," she said. "Just to help us through this." As if I had simply stepped out for lunch. I didn't interrupt her. I let her keep talking until she ran out of words. The silence on my end made her nervous. Finally, I spoke. "Did you think I wouldn't survive without you?" The line went quiet. I could almost hear her breathing change. She tried to laugh it off. That's not what I meant. But I knew it was exactly what she meant. She had removed me believing I would fall apart, that I would beg to return, that I needed her more than she needed me. I ended the call politely, told her I would think about it. When I hung up, my hands were steady. For the first time since everything happened, I wasn't afraid. Because they weren't calling from strength. They were calling from need. And that changed everything. That I told my mother I needed time to think. She agreed too quickly. That alone told me how desperate she was. For the next few days, I stayed silent on purpose. I didn't return calls right away. I answered emails slowly. Every delay made them more anxious. Through Malcolm, I heard what was happening inside the company. Investors were asking hard questions. Andre kept giving unsure answers. Meetings ended without decisions. Confidence was slipping. And I let it. While they scrambled, I moved quietly. With my attorney's help, I filed paperwork to reclaim my intellectual property. Every document I had created was clearly dated and traceable. The framework was mine. Legally. Completely. No drama. No announcements. Just signatures and filings. Then I did something else. I registered my own firm. Small. Focused. Clean. I used the same strategy model, the one I had built from nothing. But this time, it carried my name and my rules. No family. No shared control. No emotional pressure. Within a week, the first call came. A former client. Careful at first. Then honest. "We heard you're on your own now," he said. "We always trusted you more." Then another call came. And another. They weren't asking about my mother. They were asking for me. Each call felt quiet but powerful. Proof that my value had never belonged to that building or that title. Meanwhile, Rochelle kept waiting for my answer. She thought I was hesitating. She didn't realize I was already moving forward. I watched from a distance as they dug themselves deeper, believing I would eventually save them. I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. Sometimes the best move isn't to stop someone from falling. It's to step aside and let gravity do its work. The call came early in the morning. The contract was gone. Investors pulled out overnight. The final meeting never happened. Without it, the company couldn't cover next month's payroll. I didn't celebrate. I just sat quietly with my coffee. An hour later, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, I barely recognized my mother. No makeup. No sharp suit. No confident posture. Her shoulders were slumped, and her eyes looked tired and scared. She stepped inside without asking. "I don't know what to do," she whispered. This was the woman who once stood in my office and told me to pack my things. Now her voice was shaking. She sat on my couch and stared at the floor. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then the words spilled out of her. "I was scared," she said. "You were smarter than me. Faster. Everyone listened to you." She swallowed hard. "I thought if I didn't take control, I'd disappear." Hearing that hurt more than the firing. Not because it surprised me, but because it confirmed everything. She hadn't pushed me out because I failed. She pushed me out because I succeeded. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I didn't remind her of the humiliation. I just listened. The silence between us grew heavy. It said everything I didn't need to. Finally, she looked up at me. "Can you help us?" I held her gaze calmly. In that moment, I wasn't her employee. I wasn't her daughter trying to earn love. I was simply someone who had been wronged. And silence did what anger never could. It made her understand how much power had shifted. I didn't agree to fix things. I didn't offer comfort. I told my mother the truth. "This isn't about family anymore," I said calmly. "If you want my help, it will be business." She nodded quickly, desperate. I laid out the terms slowly so there would be no confusion. Triple consulting pay. No equity. No decision-making control. No titles. And full public credit for every system I touched. Her hands trembled as she listened. This time, there was no arguing. No authority in her voice. She signed the agreement without changing a word. The moment the papers were done, something shifted. I wasn't returning as her daughter. I was entering as someone she needed. When I walked back into the building, people noticed. Not with pity, with respect. Staff whispered. Managers straightened their posture. For the first time, my presence felt undeniable. But I didn't stay long. I fixed only what I was paid to fix. Nothing extra. No favors. No emotional labor. And while I worked, something else happened quietly. Employees started calling me. They asked questions about my new firm. About openings. About leadership. About stability. Within weeks, resignations began. One by one, people chose me over the company that had erased me. The industry noticed too. Clients followed talent, not titles. They didn't ask where Rochelle was. They asked where I was. My mother watched it all unfold without protest. She understood now. This wasn't revenge built on shouting or embarrassment. It was built on boundaries, on contracts, on clarity. By the time the company stabilized, it was no longer the center of power. I was. And I didn't need to raise my voice to make that clear. Because real revenge isn't loud. It's final. Months passed quietly. No chaos. No dramatic endings. Just steady growth. One morning, I unlocked the door to my own office and paused for a moment. My name was printed cleanly on the glass, Nia Carter. No shared ownership. No family expectations. No hidden strings. Inside, the space was calm. Bright. Built on my choices alone. My firm wasn't flashy, but it was stable. Clients trusted me. My team respected me. Decisions were clear because they were honest. Across town, my mother's company still existed, but barely. It survived on smaller contracts and constant restructuring. The power it once had was gone. We didn't talk much anymore. Not because of anger. Because distance had become necessary. I didn't forgive her, and I didn't need to. Forgiveness wasn't the lesson. Clarity was. I finally understood that what I lost that day in the office wasn't my mother. It was the illusion that love and loyalty were guaranteed just because someone shared my blood. That illusion had kept me small. Losing it set me free. Sometimes, late in the evening, I sat alone in my office after everyone left. I thought about the version of myself who once believed working harder would earn safety. She was brave, but she was tired. Now, I wasn't trying to prove anything. I wasn't chasing approval. I was simply building, slowly, honestly, and without fear. What I gained wasn't revenge. It was something stronger. Confidence that couldn't be taken. Respect that didn't depend on permission. And peace that came from knowing I would never again hand my future to someone who didn't protect it. That was the real ending. Not loud. Not bitter. Just unshakable. If this story moved you, remember this lesson. Never mix trust with power without protection. Always read documents, know your rights, and protect your work. Support stories that teach real-life awareness by liking, subscribing, and sharing, because knowledge can save someone before betrayal does.